Hello, Noble Knitter. It's Nancy Queen. I'm going to give you 5 habits today that you need to develop to become a better knitter. So let's dive right in. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel and click the bell to get notified every time I post. The first tip I'm going to give you is to finish the row. One of the biggest mistakes I see with beginner knitters is that they put down their knitting halfway through the project, they pick it up, and guess what? They knit the wrong direction. And then they don't know where they are, they don't know how to correct it, they've got this wonky extra side that's higher than the other, and you just need to finish a row before you set your knitting down. And it's actually kind of a common joke that knitters have, is that you have to finish the row. So like they're used to telling their families, no, I'm knitting, I need to finish my row. Just get in the habit of finishing a row. You'll have a lot better success if you do that. The second habit I want you to develop is stop and take a look at your knitting. You're so busy focusing on each little stitch that sometimes you miss the forest because of the trees. If you just take a moment and you set down your knitting and look at it as a whole and see what's going on, you will be really surprised to see, oh, okay, my stitches are getting more consistent. Do I have anything funky going on in any of the rows? You want to get in the habit of stopping and looking at the knitting as a whole. The third habit I want you to develop is knowing how to choose the right fiber and yarn weight for your project. Now, in the description below, I have a link to my yarn gauge chart, and it will help you figure out where the yarns are in the right weight. The Craft Yarn Council has come out with a weight system from 0 to 7 that categorizes the thickness of the yarn so that when you are knitting and looking for the right yarn substitutions, you will go and use that weight. So this is a sport weight. We know that this is a number 2, which designates, that's the Craft Yarn Council's designation for a sport weight yarn. So if you have a pattern and you want to substitute a yarn, you're going to first of all make sure that it is also a number 2 sport weight yarn. The second thing you're going to do is you're going to make sure that it's the right fiber content, because this project, for example, calls for this is a merino wool blend yarn. It's a merino, baby alpaca, and mulberry silk. So you don't have to match those exact fibers. You want to think of this as an animal fiber project. If you look for a merino wool blend or a wool blend, you're going to have a much better looking project than if you went and picked the same weight yarn up in a cotton. So keep plant fibers together and animal fibers together when you're substituting. So let's say the project called for a linen, but you want to use a cotton, you could do that. Or it called for a linen and you have a bamboo yarn. You could do that. You just want to make sure it's the right weight and the right fiber. The next knitting habit I want to tell you about is using a yarn tote or organizer. A lot of beginner knitters just throw their knitting projects in a plastic bag or in their bag and it ends up all over the place. But using a knitting tote or organizer will help keep your materials where they belong. They'll help organize your tools and keep your yarn neat and clean and free of animal hair. Animals, you know, dogs and cats love fiber. So if you can keep your yarn and your project away and tidy, and also having a little yarn tote or a knitting bag will allow you to take your knitting with you wherever you go. The final habit I have for you today is to write down where you are in the knitting project. I know it's a big problem with beginner knitters to figure out exactly where they are in the project, because for some reason we think we have to keep it in our heads. We don't. And when you walk away from your project, you will immediately forget where you are. Or if you walk away from it for a week or a month or even a year, when you come back to it, if you've written down where you stopped, you won't have any guessing. You won't have to wonder what row you're on. Is your project going to come out right? Because you've taken a moment to write it down. Those are my 5 habits I hope you develop, and I will see you in the next video.